I am all for eyes for who to see. In the shadow of the night, I will be your light.
Good morning and welcome to worship. This morning's scripture is a story about investment, better known as the parable of the talents. I'll be sharing from Matthew chapter 25, verses 14 through 30, read from the Message. It's also like a man going off on an extended trip. He called his servants together and delegated responsibilities. To one, he gave $5,000, to another, $2,000, and to a third, $1,000, depending on their abilities. And then he left. Right off, the first servant went to work and doubled his master's investment. The second did the same. But the man with the single thousand dug a hole and carefully buried his master's money. After a long absence, the master of those three servants came back and settled up with him. The one given $5,000 showed him how he had doubled his investment. His master commended him. "Good work. You did your job well. From now on, be my partner." The servant with 2,000 showed how he also had doubled his master's investment. His master commended him. "Good work. You did your job well. From now on, be my partner." The servant given 1,000 said, "Master, I know you have high standards and hate careless ways, that you demand the best and make no allowances forever. I was afraid I might disappoint you, so I found a good hiding place and secured your money. Here it is, safe and sound, down to the last cent." The master was furious. "That's a terrible way to live. It's criminal to live cautiously like that. If you knew I was after the best, why did you do less than the least? The least you could have done would have been to invest the sum with the bankers, where I at least would have gotten a little interest. Take the 1,000 and give it to the one who risked the most. And get rid of this play it safe who won't go out on a limb. Throw him out into utter darkness." May we be blessed as we seek understanding of this scripture. This scripture does not offer us a collective deep breath, but this week after the election has afforded most of us to take that collective deep breath. On our exhale, though, we know there is much still to be done in our country. Reverend Cameron Trimble said this week, "We have profound work ahead of us to reweave the relational fabric of our world. Like breadcrumbs along a nearly forgotten road, we will find our way back to each other as we risk vulnerability, as neighbors share hopes, children share dreams, leaders share visions, artists share inspiration, and all of us remember that we belong to one another in beloved community." End quote. I overheard an acquaintance the other day share how she lives on a cul-de-sac and half of her neighbors had Trump signs out and the other half had Biden signs. Well, she hadn't spoken with half of her neighbors for months. This week, though, the signs came down. And when she saw her neighbor at the mailbox, she asked her how her mother was doing. It had been a long time since they even spoke. It's time once again to connect and reunite in a new way, finding a way to be kind and respectful, even when we don't agree with others' point of view. It's an important first step towards healing and unity. United Christian is part of that beloved community that Reverend Trimble referred to, and I believe there is indeed a richness here. It's the richness of a diverse group of people coming from many places, differing in age, differing in race, differing in orientation, and even our beliefs. And we are all respected and welcome here. The story that we heard from scripture that Jesus tells to his disciples, which is his community of followers, was told as he was nearing the end of his earthly ministry. The money referred to was known as talents, and the amount of talents they were talking about were equivalent to a lifetime worth of wages for a day laborer, probably even more than that. Now that's a lot of money to be investing or burying. Over time, though, the talents were later referred to as gifts and abilities, not money. So as we know, we are all given different gifts and abilities, and we're not to bury them. We're not to play it safe. This parable is about their faith, which is about to be tested. What does faithfulness look like in a time of waiting? What do we know about faithfulness and being tested? Well, our political lives these past few years have been tested. Our health has been tested for 8 months with COVID. Our country continues to devalue the lives of Black and brown people for more than 400 years. Our beautiful earth continues to be denigrated. Our police system needs reforming. These are all communities which need serious attention, and our faithfulness is indeed being tested. But that's life. As we've heard for the past several weeks from our clergy and residents, when tested, we carry on. And I love Michelle Obama's quote, which is applicable in so many situations. She said, "When others go low, we go high." And that's what we need to strive to be, our best. We continue to live our lives as Jesus modeled for us, caring for the sick, welcoming the stranger, feeding the hungry, seeking justice. And as we assist these communities, we feel and know in our hearts, well done, good and faithful servant. There are too many times when it feels easier to live like the third servant who buried his treasure, as he allowed himself to be ruled by fear, to live in fear. In one of Richard Rohr's devotions this week, he said, "To live our lives based on the principles of a love ethic, which is showing care, respect, knowledge, integrity, and the will to cooperate, we have to be courageous. Learning how to face our fears is one way we embrace love. Our fear may not go away, but will not stand in the way." End quote. I'd like to share Angie's story with you. It's told by Larry Trent, who is minister to migrants at a UCC church in Los Angeles, and was shared on Marin Tirabasi's site. Angie is a member of a different sort of community. She is one of the people he came to know in his ministry with people who are unhoused. He first met Angie about 3 years ago. She was living in a park that runs along the highway, and there are probably as many as 100 people living in tents in that 2-mile stretch. At that time, Larry was regularly going to the area with boxes of items that homeless folks might need in the trunk of his car: toiletries, socks, snacks. He would fill up his backpack and walk along and give them out. Larry said Angie was living in her own little world, her home. It was built alongside an office building of the Parks and Recreation Center. Her home was built of tarps, some blue, some gray. And when I came, Angie always wanted the socks, the shampoo, and whatever snacks I had brought with me that day. She called me the nice man. One day, she invited me into her home. I admit I was surprised to see a sofa, a chair, a bed, a rug, table with a lamp, which was plugged into the outdoor outlet of the office, and even art leaning against the wall. All of the items had been retrieved from the trash, but it was neat and clean, and it was her home. Some weeks later, when I drove up expecting to see Angie, all of her belongings were on the street corner. Park rangers moved her things out, and there was no sign of Angie. That was the last time I saw her for at least 6 months. I was out at the park doing my thing when I spotted a man that I had seen with Angie many times. I asked Victor about her. He said, "She's living over by the railroad track." "Where's that?" "Well, I could take you there if you'd like. You'd never find it on your own." Well, I had met Victor many times before, and I had bought him something to eat a few times, but I'd never put him in my car. Victor looked somewhat intimidating. His body is covered with tattoos, and his body is bulging with muscles, the kind you get from life. I later learned he got them while in prison. That said, I didn't hesitate to ask him to take me there. Angie was living with 8 men in squalor. Victor said that they were all meth heads. It certainly looked it. Victor would know, as he's a former addict. When we appeared, Angie recognized me and shouted, "It's the nice man!" And Victor laughed. I was glad she remembered. Everyone came over to see what I had to give them. When I left, I knew I would not be returning to that place. In spite of being with Victor, whom I trusted, I did not feel safe with a group of meth users. Over the next 2 years, I asked others in the park about Angie, but no one seemed to know anything about her. Victor said, "I heard she died," except he didn't know any of the details. Now that brings me to my recent encounter from last month. As I was returning home from Trader Joe's, there was a mentally ill woman in the middle of the street. She was screaming at the cars going by and pounding her fists in the air. She also was naked. The thing is, I recognized her as Angie, that I had not seen in about 2 years. I parked my car, stopped traffic, and called her name. The moment I called her name, she calmed down. I said, "Angie, let's get you out of the street." She walked towards me on the sidewalk. "Where are your clothes, Angie?" "I don't know," she replied. The conversation continued. "Where are you living?" "Over by the freeway." "Well, let's get you over there." Well, the freeway is right there, and I walked with her to the hole in the fence. She crawled through and into a tent. When I asked her, "Are you okay?" I got no reply.
I will come to you in the silence. I will lift you from all your fears. You will hear my voice. I claim you as my choice. Be still and know I am here. I am hope for all who are hopeless. I am all for eyes for who to see. In the shadow of the night, I will be your light. Come and rest in me. Do not be afraid, I am with you. I have called you each by name. Come and follow me. I will bring you home. I love you, and you are mine.
That morning, when I called her name, Angie calmed down. It was as if she heard the calming voice of God calling her by name, saying to her, "Angie, you are mine. Do not be afraid. I have redeemed you. When you walk through the waters, I will be with you. The rivers will not overwhelm you. You are precious in my sight, and I love you. You are mine." This story is not just Angie's story. We know it's the story of so many others who are living on the streets, in the parks, along the freeways and underpasses. For all of us living comfortable lives, it's easy to pass them by, to look the other way. And the fact is, many of us do pass by. Larry's story sounds much like a modern day Good Samaritan story. Yet we can all be the Good Samaritan and do something to help. As we heard earlier, in 2 weeks, that's Sunday, November 28th, the United Christian will be providing a meal for the homeless. Now, I'll tell you that I've donated to this effort before. I've served, I've made a few meatloaves, but after hearing Angie's story, I feel more attached to this small effort, which we will be blessing to many persons who are currently unhoused, this community of God's children. If you too may have been touched by the story, reach out to Grace or the church office and let them know that you're interested in donating your time or meal fixings. The other scheduled event is next Saturday, November 21st. We heard about this one also, that you can do a drive-by with some food donations for the ERA. When you're out picking up your own Thanksgiving groceries, just pick up a bag full of non-perishable items to share. And if you can't make that date, we'll have another drive-by on Saturday, December 12th. These are opportunities that we can take part in for the Angies out there and for those struggling with food insecurity. We pray for Angie and others who live as she does. We can also get involved with the justice work that Power is doing, with the Peace Center. We can learn and unlearn more so we can help undo racial justice in our society. You know what? This is the richness of our community, helping where we can, standing up for justice where we must, and from the words of the humble and beloved Mr. Rogers, I say this. As human beings, our job in life is to help people realize how rare and valuable each one of us really is, that each of us has something that no one else has or ever will have, something inside that is unique to all time. It's our job to encourage each other to discover that uniqueness and to provide ways of developing its expression. End quote. This is the adventure of faith. Love God, love your neighbor, and don't bury your treasure. Act wisely, act boldly, use it well. May it be so. Amen.
Be still